Hello, Night Nation. I'm Trace Choco, joined by Adam Eaton. Welcome back to Sons of UCF Live. Adam, when we left Sons Live on a cliffhanger, we spent the summer with Sons Today, did a reverse episode, and your daughter is enrolled at UCF. So what's going on? How are you?
Nothing is this live, or is this one of those where we're live, not live? We're live. Okay,
live.
No, good to be back. A lot of buttons to hit tonight. We got to get ourselves reoriented, but we appreciate everyone hopping back in and enjoying another season of Sons Live. Great guest list tonight. We have all the staples back, maybe some new bells and whistles as well. So everyone, welcome back in, settle in. Sons Live is back for the foreseeable future. We'll see how long that is.
At Mr. Matt Dolan reminds us 1 week until the start of the 2025 UCF football season. At fifth quarter UCF, 7 days until the start of the 2025 season. Talking season, Adam, almost over, but not quite. And this Thursday, one big story.
We do have one big story, Trace. Talking season is almost over, but there's only one story people want to know about. Luckily, we have just the guy for you.
One big thing.
The long-running quarterback battle at UCF may finally be coming to a conclusion after CBS Sports reporter Matt Zenitz recently reported Cam Fancher is expected to be the next starting quarterback of the UCF Knights, beating out Taven Jackson and Jakari Brown. Throughout fall camp, Coach Frost said he's been impressed by Fancher's experience in the huddle between 26 starts in Marshall and FAU.
Yeah, I think early on, he did the best job of getting in the huddle, having command, making the calls precisely, and helping everybody else get lined up. And that speaks to the experience level. He's just played more ball. The other guys have caught up to a great deal and did a good job with that too. But you could recognize early on that Cam's been in that position before.
Media is expected to meet Coach Frost on Monday and potentially gain clarity on the starting job. And until next time, I'm Andrew Cherico for the Sons of UCF.
Thank you, Andrew. Now, we started to see with the ones Cam Fancher, right, the former Marshall FAU quarterback. But in the couple of media availabilities, Adam, that we saw, we might see a different person run out with the ones. And we're not seeing all of practice. But really, out of nowhere, seemingly, Cam Fancher emerged with a job. Let's go back on that question that I asked of Scott Frost. We heard a portion of it right there in Andrew's report. I started to dig in, look at the number of starts that Cam had, and as well the experience that he had in his prior stops. So let's hear more now in that soundbite from Scott Frost.
Between his time at Marshall and FAU, Cam Fancher's logged a lot of playing time, a lot of starts. How have you seen him benefit from that throughout camp?
Yeah, I think early on, he did the best job of getting in the huddle, having command, making the calls precisely, and helping everybody else get lined up. And that speaks to the experience level. He's just played more ball. The other guys have caught up to a great deal and did a good job with that too. But you could recognize early on that Cam's been in that position before.
All right, so as you hear that, a little bit more detail, what do you take from it? You were talking Cam Fancher back in the spring, weren't you? I mean, a little bit.
Yeah, I don't know that I want to take credit for that. Yeah, I did. I thought it was interesting when he committed. He was one of the first quarterback commits, if not the first quarterback commits under this new regime. Mackenzie Milton tweeted at the time, "The eye in the sky don't lie. We got a baller here." So clearly he was a priority for this coaching staff and for Mackenzie Milton and Scott Frost, right? So there's clearly something that was there. I think it boils down to what do you want and what do you need from your football team? And I've said this a few different times, Trace. I know we focus on the quarterback position specifically, but the quarterback also is surrounded by 10 other players on the field. And so you have to find the person that fits that personnel grouping the best, that allows you to run your offense the best. I think to me, this signals a few different things. When talking to Cam Fancher at Players Media Day, he talked about his comfortability with the playbook. He knows this playbook. He studied this playbook, that he's more cerebral, he feels like, than maybe some of the other quarterbacks. That could be experience talking there. So I think a few things. I think one, Scott Frost values just getting in and out of the operation cleanly, getting in the huddle, getting the play called, getting the right checks at the line. I think that's a valuation that Scott Frost said, I need that on my quarterback. And two, I think what we've heard and what we've kind of seen in some of the clips and some of the things we're hearing is, who can make the most consistent plays, who puts us in positions to be consistently better. And while the other guys may have a ton of talent and they may flash at times, are they consistently doing the right things? I think what this tells you is Scott Frost is leaning a veteran out of the gate. Now, I also would I guess caution everybody. we're just talking about one game. And to be fair, we don't know this from UCF's mouth just yet, right? This is a report from CBS. Again, reputable source. So I'm not saying it's not true, but UCF has not officially announced anything. But this is just the first game. Allegedly, this is what's going to happen. I think we still have some time to see how this quarterback battle plays out. Scott Frost ruled out playing 3 quarterbacks in a recent media availability. It doesn't mean he won't play 2. That doesn't mean we won't see somebody else in these first couple of games. But it does appear, according to CBS Sports, we'll see Cam Fancher trotting out to the huddle first.
Certainly unscientific, but just 3 weeks ago, I polled who do you think will be the starting quarterback? 8% at that time said Cam Fancher. That jumps over the couple of weeks to 41%. Chakuri was fairly consistent. It was Taven Jackson who came in from Indiana. His stock fell in the eyes of Night Nation. Again, we don't get to see much of practice. So it is going to be interesting to see who rolls out there, whether we get the official word from Scott Frost on Monday or whether he says he did on his last media availability. Maybe I won't tell you guys until game time. But of course, that is what CBS is reporting today. Can Cam Fancher, if he is in fact named the starter, cut down on interceptions? That was a bit of a bugaboo for him at FAU. That'll be something to watch.
Yeah, his last 2 seasons at FAU and Marshall, he's got basically has a 1-to-1 touchdown to interception ratio. And so that is something that he's going to have to value the football. And I think the thing, we talk a lot about McKenzie Milton, Scott Frost. We feel good about their coaching styles. We feel good about them coaching up a Ja'Cory Brown. We felt good about them maybe molding a Taven Jackson. The same could be true of Cam Fancher. Perhaps their coaching ability has also helped Cam Fancher grow and develop as a quarterback as well. Again, we'll have to kind of figure that out. But you would think Frost makes this decision because he feels good about being a veteran. Tip of the cap to Matt Murschel, who said recently that of the 3 quarterbacks, Cam Fancher is the only one to ever start a season-opening game. So perhaps Scott Frost is leaning veteran presence out of the gate, wants to see how the team rolls through, thinks that maybe Cam Fancher brings that. But yes, you cannot turn the football over, I think, in this offense, particularly with this new kind of style of the team as they kind of figure it all out. You can't pull that all together there. So you're gonna have to wait and see how this comes together. But Cam Fancher cannot be a turnover machine. He has to have improved on that from his time at both FAU and Marshall.
Yeah, no matter Fancher or anyone else cannot turn the ball over, cannot put the defense back on the field. It's going to be interesting to see if Scott Frost confirms this in his Monday media availability. Of course, it was defensive coordinator Alex Grinch who made the appearance before the cameras on Thursday. Everybody would have loved Steve Cooper, the offensive coordinator, or Coach Frost, but you get the defensive guy, so you're not going to get those quarterback questions that you would have liked to ask on Thursday. However, Night Nation has felt pretty good about this defense. Initial concerns about Alex Grinch as the defensive coordinator, but when you look at both sides of the ball, there seem to be fewer questions on the defensive side of the ball. And Coach Grinch asked, what will we see when we see this defense next Thursday?
I want to see these guys flying around, playing with effort, knocking things down when it gets maybe cloudy, and maybe a play that otherwise would be a 10-yard gain get knocked down for a 5-yard gain, and even the ones that make you cringe, a 15-yard gain that otherwise would have gone much further type of deal. And so you do that with effort.
It's going to be interesting. You don't want them on the field too much, but I have optimism about the defense.
Yeah, look, I think if you look at defense versus offense, I think you feel like this defense may be ahead in terms of the position units just based on the guys they have, on who's returning. But look, let's not sugarcoat this. Alex Grinch has something to prove, right? His last couple stops have not gone, I think, as well as he would have liked to have gone. So, he's got something to prove in this go around. But can this defense kind of carry the offense while they kind of figure it out, right? I think there's more newness. There's more questions on that offensive side. You're going to need your defense to step up early and at least set the tone for a couple games and let your offense kind of get your feet under you. So Alex Grinch has, he's got a microscope on him, but, this defense, Trace, talking to all these kids at media days, they like the system. They like Coach Grinch. They like the way they're being coached. They like the freedom they have in this system. What happens when we turn the lights on and play football is another story, but at least the early returns are, I think a lot of folks feel very positive about this defense.
And you had opportunity amongst all of the many interviews we now have on Sun's YouTube, the channel there. You had an opportunity to speak with Alex Grinch at Coach's Media Day. He thinks through an answer before he gives it, doesn't he?
Yeah, he's a cerebral guy. I like his thought process. He doesn't give you kind of a canned answer. So he's someone I think who thinks through, and he had unique perspective. Again, he's been a lot of places, right? We focus on USC and Oklahoma because those are kind of the last two. But 2017 at Washington State, I mean, he led one of the top defenses in the country with Wisconsin last year. They were a solid defense. So he's kind of grown up in the ranks, and he's had some success defensively. So, well, I guess we'll find out which kind of coach we're getting here. Are we getting the 27, which is such an interesting parallel, by the way, Trace. We keep throwing back to 2017 when Scott Frost was an offensive master and Alex Grinch was a defensive master. Can we kind of relight that candle again here at UCF? And I guess we're all hoping we can, unfortunately.
Yeah, let's dig a little bit more into UCF and the matchup coming up with Jacksonville State with Rene Angolia, the ESPN analyst, the UMass Football Hall of Famer, who I saw out of practice most recently. Rene, welcome back into Sons of UCF Live.
How we doing, guys? Thanks for having me.
Doing well. So CBS reports Cam Fancher could be QB1. What was your reaction upon hearing that?
Yeah, interesting. So, as you said, you saw me out there. I went out to 2 practices. I got to get into one of the closed scrimmages too, which was nice. It's not really a UCF thing. It's a college thing. I always see when you see quarterbacks battling, right? So you had 3 good quarterbacks battling for the starting job. They're always trying to make that perfect pass, right? To please the coaches, and they're trying to make that downfield pass. And they fail to really concentrate on just making the easy passes, because I watched them all, a running back in the flat, overthrown, tight end leaking out, throw it behind them. So you got to make those high percentage passes. And then with Cam Fancher, I didn't go back and count, but I'm sure he's got over 30 career starts to his name. He's got a lot of experience. He's been with a few different teams. And I think that's probably, if he does ultimately become the starter, that's probably what Scott's looking at. That experience. He's kind of a mixture of all 3 of them. He's pretty athletic, can make the throws, and I just think his experience, if he is the starter, that's probably what's going to push him ahead. But the good thing with UCF, Jacksonville State's not a pushover, right? In an opener, it's an FBS program out of Conference USA. It was a bowl team last year, although new coaching staff, completely new team. But then you get a North Carolina A&T before you get North Carolina in the conference. So they still have a few weeks if they're not really sure what they want to do. But, yeah, by all reports, looks like Cam's going to be the guy to get the start.
Yeah, Coach Frost said, of course, he doesn't want to play 3 guys against Jacksonville State. However, how can you not get packages and mix in Jakari Brown? He is a tremendous athlete. We saw glimpses of what he could do last season.
And if there's any question in your mind, right, if you don't have a clear-cut QB1, then why not, right? Let's put him out with the lights on, game time. And, yeah, Jakari Brown, you're right. His upside is so high, right? And it's probably the highest of the 3, to be honest with you. So his issue, and I think with a lot of quarterbacks, is just game reps, right? Because you get better with experience and reps, especially seeing what the defenses are trying to do to you, because – Brown's athleticism, can make the throws, is like, again, his ceiling's so high. It's just that those game reps, seeing what defenses are trying to do to you and understanding things.
Really, well, there's questions at quarterback. There are not a lot of questions at running back.
Yeah.
Luckily, you as a Hall of Fame running back can tell us better than anybody. UCF has 2 guys in Miles Montgomery, Jaden Nixon, who figure to be very prominent in this offense. What did you see from those guys in your time watching them? What do you think they kind of bring to this offense?
I think it's a good 1-2 punch. Both of them can carry the load if they need to, but they won't. Today, college football, and you guys know this, it changed from when I played. When I played, you ran the ball 25, 30 times a game. That's not happening anymore. There's usually 2 main backs, if not 3. Both of them run extremely hard. They're intelligent. They both catch the ball very well out of the backfield, which to me in offenses today it's just paramount. You have to do that. And they're the type of guys that you get them in space, they make a guy miss, they can get big chunk yardage plays. And that's what you love. And, I had a chance to speak with Miles, and just a great, great young man. And, a lot of people don't get to see that, right? They kind of see the player, and and you guys too, we're in that ability to kind of meet the young people, meet these young men that play. And he's just an outstanding guy. So I really expect Miles Montgomery to have a breakout season this year for UCF.
Well, if Miles wants to have a good season, if whoever the quarterback is wants to have a good season, really, they're going to need the offensive line to really kind of
Correct.
hold up, right? Again, kind of a patchwork system, 4 new faces potentially on that line with Paul Rubel, who is kind of Mr. UCF, as everyone kind of calls him
Yeah.
these days. What did you kind of see and observe from watching that offensive line, and where do you think they're at relative to maybe where you think they need to be at if they want to have a successful offensive system?
Well, number one, I think Sean Clark is an excellent coach. Former Appalachian State head coach, is now the offensive line coach for UCF. I think he's outstanding. Offensive line is that one position group where you have to gel as a unit, 5 guys working as one more than any. And that takes time, even through camp. And you just put your finger on it. You add 4 guys, 5 guys into a mix. I think Rubel's the only starter back on that offensive line. So that takes time. So as much as we talked about quarterbacks kind of getting into the season, boy, those first couple of weeks for that offensive line, seeing what the opponent's trying to do to them, and really the game film for them is going to be invaluable. So, but I agree with you. Listen, you have to win in the interior lines of scrimmage. We can talk about skill players all day long, but you have to win at the line of scrimmage. Now, UCF's defensive line, I think, is loaded. I think they are going to be really good. Offensive line, question marks, but I think they have the people there in place. I just think a little experience and a little more meshing together, and I think they'll be okay.
All the talk has been about quarterbacks, but with the turnover on the roster, virtually no returning production at wide receiver, and fans are frustrated. Why so many question marks? Why don't we know anything? And I was out of practice for those 15, 20-minute glimpses, and I didn't necessarily see, too much that made me think somebody was seizing this job. You saw a little bit of a longer stretch of practice. What were your takeaways from wide receiver? There is an opportunity here for some guys to really step up.
Yeah, and that's the one position group, like going into, my prep at UCF and going out to practice, there wasn't like one name that popped out like in the future, right? There was always someone coming back that, had a great year before. And so it's kind of wide open. They look like the one thing I like, they were competing. Right. And when you know there's spots open to get playing time, you're going to compete your tail off. And I think Scott said in one of his press conferences, like, he likes the guys, the way they're competing. He likes the routes they're running, they're learning. And, and it's and the other thing, guys, for as a wide receiver, if you're not really sure who QB1 is, and you have a couple different quarterbacks coming in, one of them being a lefty, Jackson, a very tall quarterback. So you have different delivery points. So that can be a little disconcerting for the wide receiving group too in preseason. But listen, there's athleticism and talent there. And I'm sure there's going to be 1 or 2 of those guys by mid-season. They're going to be household names for UCF fans.
You mentioned defensive line earlier. It feels like that's the side of the ball, the defense, that there are fewer questions. That could be the unit that carries UCF, especially in the early going.
Yeah, and and there's a couple of them there, and it's great having John Walker back. Nigel Kelly, I think, is a beast. I really think tackles are going to have a well of a time stopping him with his rush. And I'm really good friends with the defensive line coach Mike Dawson, and he said and he doesn't sugarcoat stuff. He said this defensive line is good, and they're going to be problems for people.
Rene, obviously you've been out at practice. How about this defense holistically, right? Again, while the D line is stout, some newness at linebacker, a secondary kind of coming together. What did you kind of observe in this defense kind of under Alex Grinch, who you were kind of listening in the lead up, right? He's kind of aligned in the college football ethos right now. He's back at UCF kind of with a chance to rebuild himself. What did you kind of make of what you've seen from Grinch in this system so far?
Yeah, I agree with you. I think, the linebacker core is going to be really important. I think there's some good pieces on the back end there for UCF. So you got that. The defensive line, I think, is solid. Secondary, I think you'll be fine. Let's see what linebackers can step up and play. And, yeah, Alex Grinch, I don't want to say there's pressure on him, but there's a lot of eyes on him for sure, right? And, an interesting story about Alex Grinch just goes to show you how long I've been around. So I just mentioned Mike Dawson, the defensive line coach. He used to be, years ago, Mike Dawson was the defensive coordinator at the University of New Hampshire. A young Alex Grinch was the defensive backs coach for Mike Dawson. And now, years later, Alex Grinch, of course, has been defensive coordinator at many big-time programs now. Now Mike's kind of coaching under Alex Grinch. So, listen, I think this is going to free up Alex Grinch, right? Because I think UCF fans know, like, no one's expecting, and Scott Frost made it clear, like they're not going to step in and go undefeated again, right? How he left the program, and I think he got that out, made that abundantly clear. That listen, we're a work in progress. I'm bringing new staff once again, turning over a lot of players, which every team does now, and I think there's almost freedom for Alex Grinch, which I think will help him call the defense because he's not going to be looking over his shoulder where he may at another big time program like, man, if my defense isn't getting it done, I might be, one and done. I don't think that's going to be the case here. And that usually frees coaches up to give their best coaching. So I'm confident in Alex Grinch is going to be a good defensive coordinator for UCF.
Rene, a theme we've talked about, and it's unclear to me how real this theme might be, but we've talked a lot about chip on the shoulder, right? Scott Frost, obviously his tenure in Nebraska doesn't end the way he wants it to. Alex Grinch, obviously we mentioned a little bit maligned there. A lot of the transfers UCF's brought in have come from sort of the lower ranks of the P4 or G5 school, right? And we've talked a lot about chip on the shoulder.
Mm-hmm.
You've strapped the helmet on, better than us. Is that a real thing? Is that something that is tangible that you could say, hey, maybe two teams are even, but one team just wants it more? Is that accurate? Is that a fair assessment to think about with this UCF team?
100%, especially with the chip on your shoulder, like getting after, and add in rev share NIL to that, because that'll put a chip on a guy's shoulder today too. And so I like it when you're able to go grab, and UCF's done it in the past too. They've grabbed some FCS All-Americans, some FCS All-Conference guys, or some lower G6 guys, right, that had great years and just got overlooked. Those are the type of guys with chips. The guys that have good playing experience, that have those chips because they were overlooked for whatever reason, maybe it was an injury, maybe they were a late bloomer. I love those guys on your roster. So when I see teams go get them, to me, that makes a difference. And then the overall chip for the program, I'm down in Thibodaux, Louisiana, and I was driving in from New Orleans, and I was listening to college radio on Sirius XM, and I don't know who the national columnist was on there, but he basically said, the Big 12 is America's conference. It's wide open. Any team can win it, but UCF. He actually said that. So I'm like, okay. And I couldn't even tell you I would tell you if I knew his name. I didn't know. You shouldn't need motivation. Every football player should be self-motivated, and they are. But that stuff matters. You get it in the back of your mind, makes you work a little bit harder. So I'll be interested to see what this team can do this year.
New looks for UCF and Jacksonville State. Question for you. Take us into your process. What's it like preparing when you have turnover like this on both sides for both teams?
Miserable. And it's not just – so my first 4 games, so what's that, 8 teams? 7 of those 8 teams I had last year. I think 6 of the 7 completely new coaching staffs. And the rosters – and even if the coaching staff isn't turned over – there's 40, 50 new players on every team. I mean, it's every team. It's just not UCF. I mean, but that's college football today. So you just have to do the best you can. The first week or two is kind of tough because once the season gets going, you got the previous week or two to really dive into the game film, to really analyze players. But the first week, it's just kind of like, okay, I can get away with a little bit more as an analyst because at the end of the day, I'm analyzing what I'm seeing during the game, right? I'm trying to give you my best analysis as a former player, what I'm seeing. But it is tough just trying to, track down backgrounds and you lose track of guys too. Like you don't realize it. So like I'm doing the FCS game this Saturday, Incarnate Word at Nicholls State. And just goes to show you the football world, like how crazy it is. So the starting quarterback for Incarnate Word is Richard Torres. Scott Frost recruited Richard Torres at Nebraska. He was going to be like Scott Frost, like prize quarterback in Nebraska. And then a couple of years later, he's playing FCS football. Scott Frost is back at UCF. I mean, it's just a wacky world, college football. But guess what? It's fun. It's fun.
Of what you've seen of Jacksonville State, what could cause some heartburn for UCF fans a week from now?
Yeah, then that's the $1 million question because that is completely really a new team. And I had them last year under Rich Rod. So I'm not really sure to this point, what kind of offense they're going to run. Coach Kelly, he's a very experienced coach, but a new head coach. Like he's brand new. They bring in a transfer quarterback as well. So I honestly, I can't sit here and answer that question other to tell you, kind of going back to what Adam said, that is a program that will have a chip on their shoulder. Whenever you have a group of 6, a Conference USA team, a Sun Belt team, an American team, you coming into a Big 12 home like UCF, especially if you're thinking, okay, UCF's a new team, we can get them at home. You cannot take a team like that lightly. You just can't, because you don't know what you're going to get from them. So I wouldn't expect Jacksonville State to roll over. As a matter of fact, the last game they played as a team was in Orlando because they were in the Cure Bowl. They lost, I think, a 3-point game to Ohio. So there is some players returning to that team. I think the biggest thing is they're going to bring a quarterback in with some experience. But, like everyone else, I don't really know what we're going to get out of Jacksonville State either.
Rene Angolia, he'll be a part of the broadcast team on that first game for UCF against Jacksonville State next week. Good luck to you this weekend in your first college broadcast of the new season.
Yeah, we'll knock the cobwebs off. So, I have one under my belt for Thursday night at UCF.
We'll study you, and then we'll evaluate you after that second game as well. Rene, thanks for being with us.
Thanks, Rene.
All right. You feel a little bit better knowing Jacksonville State's got a lot of turnover, or at least for me, I remember what was it, the Furman game of 2015?
Let's not talk about that. Why do we keep bringing that up? Don't break that up. Listen, I mean, it's tough, right? Like, even trying to understand what to take place. Rene said it. He's actually got to do this for a job, and he's trying to figure out how to talk about these teams. So it's tough as fans. But historically, Jacksonville State has been a program that has bitten some ankles, if you will. Florida State went down to them a few years back. So I guess you always keep your guard up if you're a UCF team. But I got to imagine Scott Frost's message is, let's just take care of us. Do what we do best, execute the way we execute, and let's let chips fall where they may. But I think it was even Steve Cooper, and correct me if I'm wrong, Trey. Someone asked him, like, how do you scout this team? And he's like, I don't know. You go back and you look at other tape from other teams and other schools where other guys coached, and you just kind of hope for the best. So this first game may be a little bit wonky just in terms of how it plays out, but it certainly is. It's good to have football back.
You're going to have to adjust on the fly because you're not quite sure what you're going to see. UCF and the Sons of UCF. The Sons of UCF did a good job of promoting the candidacy of Alex Haynes, inducted into the UCF Athletics Hall of Fame. I think some personal pride for you in getting behind that.
Yeah, look, I mean, Alex is a great guy, and I always just found it interesting that he wasn't in the Hall of Fame, being, the third leading rusher now at UCF, over 3,300 yards. So, glad to see him get in. But this is a great class, Trace. I mean, I highlight some of the guys on screen here. Mike Sims-Walker, Dexter Lyons was such a fun watch for UCF basketball.
Some of these guys you thought, weren't they already in?
Exactly. That's kind of where I started with Alex Haynes. I was like, wait, he's not in already? So happy for Alex and his family. Happy for Mike Sims-Walker, Dexter, Cornell Green, and everybody else who's going in there. It'll be a great opportunity, a great class. And hopefully we continue to find more ways to get some of the legends in. I know UCF's coming up now on that 16-17 team. All those guys are going to be eligible coming up soon, right? So you're gonna lose a lot of spots here. So I'm glad to see, guys like the folks mentioned here are getting an opportunity, and a well-deserved opportunity, to join the Hall of Fame.
Friday, October 17th, the ceremony at the Celeste, and you mentioned as well volleyball, track and field represented. I imagine the 2017 football team will go in as a group, but boy, some tough decisions there. Who do you leave out? So many contenders that were Hall of Fame worthy in their time at UCF.
Yeah, I don't even want to begin to think about that, right? I mean, they're your first ballot guys, right? Are getting in, but there's going to be some names that are going to pop up, or you're going to kind of debate, are they on that list? Are they not on that list? And so it should be fun to see. But again, I'm glad to see, where this year is kind of there, where there's some opportunity that some deserving kind of veteran players who help build both football, basketball, have a chance to get in.
Out of all the things that come from UCF social media and production and video, I think the video they do where Athletic Director Terry Mohajir calls the inductee and breaks the news to him, shares the news with him. I love that. I love that minute and a half. It's so emotional. You see the joy in their faces that they're being recognized in this way.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, I've had a chance to connect with Alex a little bit in the last couple of months as he's kind of, looked at his candidacy. And it's interesting to see how much this means to those folks, right? It means to him, his family. Alex has a son, Alex Jr., and he's talking a lot about our name, our family name will be recognized and memorialized at UCF. And it means a lot to folks like that. I think we all think of it as good fodder and good topic for shows like this, but it means something to the individuals who are being recognized. And it was kind of interesting interesting getting to know Alex a little bit more through this process, how much this just means to him to be recognized and how much it means to him to have his teammates along for the journey, right? He's kind of an interesting group of that early MAC years that we all kind of forget about, because who wants to remember Ypsilanti, Michigan, right? So we all forget about those things, but he feels like he represents the teams he was on as well too. So we all think of it as fun and fodder and who's better than this person and Mount Rushmores and all this stuff, but it really does mean something to these athletes who busted their rear ends at UCF to try to get this opportunity. And I think it's special for those folks to have this chance to now be recognized as an all-time great at UCF.
UCF football back in 1 week at this time against Jacksonville State, but Big 12 football returns in week 0 this weekend, and Farmageddon a world away. Let us welcome in Craig Smoke from 365 Sports, first timer here on Sons of UCF Live. Craig, welcome in.
Hey guys, hopefully you can hear me. You never know with these types of videos. You got me? Just want to make sure. Okay, fantastic. We're off to a great start already then. But yeah, I'm glad to be with y'all. Enjoyed listening here as I was waiting, and just so excited like y'all are for what's coming up this season.
So Farmageddon, right? The longest continuous series. We're going to play it in Ireland. Hey, pretty good battle though. Knockout game, you think maybe in the Big 12, or too early for that kind of talk?
You know, I was sitting here wondering what we might talk about, and I figured we're going to talk about some UCF and just everything that's going on. But yeah, obviously this is the thing that's top of mind. And as I was sitting here thinking about it, I'm going, what am I going to say if they ask me who my Big 12 championship prediction?
That's question 2. Right?
Okay, question 2. Well, I'll tell you, one half of that is whoever wins this game on Saturday, I think is what I'm going with. I have a lot of love for Iowa State, lost a couple of really good receivers and all that, but they're just so consistent. And then a team that's very similar to them in a lot of ways in Kansas State with a lot of hype and optimism as well. So I'm super excited about this game. It is weird being in Ireland and not having the home crowd, but I think it ought to be a really good one. It's a great platform for the Big 12, obviously. And yeah, I think whoever wins this game is going to have a huge step up and a big conference win. And I'm feeling really good about either one of them having still a rocky path, but a clear path that they get past one another to try and get to Arlington and play another team that I think might end up there at the end of the year.
Our previous guest, Rene Angolia, saying he was listening to some sports talk radio, and they said everybody but UCF can be a contender there in the Big 12. Do you think it is that wide open?
I do think it's pretty wide open. I don't know that I'd go 1 through 15. I mean, I know that UCF, there's not a lot of optimism as far as this season goes and competing for the Big 12 and all of that. It's very much like, we're going to see what's going to happen, right? I do think, though, that there is more than a handful of teams that could all very well end up in Arlington. I just don't think it's the other 15, but I know there's probably a little hyperbole there in that comment. But I do think it is very wide open. I think you can make a compelling case for K-State. You can make a compelling case for Iowa State, for Texas Tech, for Baylor, for BYU, even with the quarterback change. If you believe in the Utah resurgence, then I see a lot of people who are quote-unquote experts that have Utah playing in the Big 12 title game. I'm not going that far just yet personally, but I do think they'll be much better. And then I think there's a lot of teams we just don't know nearly. Like, I don't think Oklahoma State has I don't think of them in the Big 12 title game right now. I don't think of UCF. I don't think of Houston right now. And then there's some others, but I do think to your question that there is more than a handful that all could feel very confident right now. And maybe a couple handfuls of teams that feel like they can end up playing for a title at the end of the year.
Craig, you mentioned Texas Tech, and they pushed all their chips into the middle of the table, literally, with this roster. Is it make or break for Texas Tech this season? I mean, they've invested so heavily in this roster. Is this a team that has to get to a conference championship game for this ROI to have made sense on what they've done from a roster building standpoint?
I think so. I've been saying on the show, we got a lot of great Texas Tech fans that listen, and I think, sometimes you hear people talk about what your expectations should be, and you're like, I don't really know. But the feedback that I get, and I think the expectation, regardless of the feedback, should be if you're spending that much money and you're parading around, and I don't mean that negatively, but you're using all that PR and you're blasting it off left and right throughout the entire offseason, and you're walking the walk, or you're talking the talk. I think you got to walk the walk, right? I mean, if you spent number one recruiting class type of money, you're sitting there talking about how you're messing with the Texas and OU's of the world. You can't finish third in the Big 12 and then go like, yep, that's exactly what we were going for. It's like, no, man, bare minimum, you have to be in the title game at the end of the year in Arlington, like bare minimum. And then, we can allow ourselves an injury happens, right? If an injury, a key injury were to happen, and we saw Tech just get hit with one earlier this week, but if a rash of injuries were to happen, okay, that's not, the money wasn't well spent. That was just like, hey, they ran into some bad luck. So I could see that happening, and then you don't knock them for not reaching where they should reach in your mind. But if all else stays the same, they don't lose anybody besides Quentin Joyner that has a major impact. I mean, you've got to want to be there, or you've got to think that being there is the bare minimum of what you should accomplish with all that you've been talking about this offseason. And I think they've got a legit shot to do that. I think in a league where parity is ripe, the talent is pretty equal, if you go and get a discernible advantage in talent, then to me, that should equal you being in a lot better position than most everybody else in the league and giving you that decisive edge and getting to 10, 11, 12 wins or whatever it may be. So it's not make or break. I do think that Cody Campbell is in this for the long haul. So Tech's not going anywhere. The oil money's not going anywhere. But the break would be, not making it to Arlington, in my opinion, for Texas Tech.
Craig, like every fan, your schedule comes out as your team. You go down the list. You go win, loss, win, loss, win, loss, right? You try to predict. There's one game on this schedule for UCF that I'm having a kind of a hard time understanding. I'd love your perspective on. What do you make of Kansas? A team that brings back Jalen Daniels, right? Struggled a little bit last year. UCF gets them at home this year, right? So I know they've got this beautiful new stadium, and they invested in a drone apparently that can fly through the stadium, which was really cool. But what do you make of this Kansas team and what you think they're going to be this year? Because that's the one game on the schedule where I look at and I go, I don't really know what to make of that Jayhawk squad.
I'll tell you what, I don't know if you guys got a chance to talk to Jalen Daniels at Big 12 Media Days, but man, it's hard not to be a fan of his after you talk to him. I mean, what an electric personality, really easy guy to root for. We enjoyed our time talking to him, but I think that they ought to be a pretty good team. It's just such a weird year last year, right? Because they started off so poorly, had the big losing streak of games, and then here they are at the end, and they rattle off like win after win after win, and they all of a sudden are in a scenario there at the last week of the regular season where if they beat Baylor, they're going bowling after being just dead to rights. And so you have, I think, a better situation at offensive coordinator. When they hired Jeff Grimes, I mean, I had seen him at Baylor, BYU prior to that. He's a good coach, but just I wasn't in love with that move to begin with, especially replacing Andy Kotelnicki, but they've got the in-house thing going. I think they feel better about that. I think they're just, for me, one of those teams that's kind of in that middle question mark pack. So I hate to not really be able to shed too much light. I think they're going to be a good team. I think they'll be formidable. I think they're going to be well coached. I don't think they're going to out-talent anybody necessarily unless Jalen Daniels is like suddenly going vintage like a couple of years ago. Which very well could happen. But yeah, I think that's going to be a toss-up team for everybody in the league of like, you don't really know. You can't chalk them up as an automatic win like you could in the past, but they're not an automatic loss either. I think they're in that meat of the Big 12 where everybody feels like, hey, the talent's pretty even. Maybe home field gives you a slight advantage here or there, but let's roll the ball out and see what happens. So I hate to not answer your question, but I don't have faith they're going to be really, really good. I also don't think they're going to have as much struggle as they did last year. So they're kind of just one of those middle teams for me. And hey, if Daniels ends up being like great again, then perhaps that propels them into making things a little bit more interesting. But yeah, they are a curious team, I think, for a lot of people.
In the Can You Go Home Again Bowl, West Virginia at UCF, what do you make of that matchup and Rich Rod trying again in West Virginia?
Yeah, he's a really interesting guy, man. He's made them far more interesting in his short amount of time than I think Neil Brown ever did. And I don't mean that disrespectfully to Neil Brown. Neil Brown was just kind of like a vanilla ball coach. He was nice to talk to. He knows his stuff. But Rich Rod's like, that's like one of those college football characters, right? That makes college football so great. Just very unique type of personality. They got really good news yesterday. They were worried that they were going to have some serious depth issues with some eligibility things coming into play, but got the green light on that. And so they got a bunch of players that thought they might not otherwise have. They're very curious to me because I think Nico Marchiol is a nice player. I think they've got some good talented players, but I just don't know what to assume with Rich Rod just this quickly, right? Like, is this more of a building thing, or in this portal era, can you just flip everything over, just bring a guy that kind of knows the ropes in, and like that's all it takes? Which I know is kind of what UCF hopes in so many ways, like to rekindle that magic. Is it that simple for West Virginia? I don't know that it is. But that's a game that's going to be filled with storylines. I think UCF, outside of like I put them in that middle area, and I know most would probably put them more towards the bottom, but I think they're going to be competitive. I think they're going to give teams problems. I don't think they're just going to be skunked, most of the league schedule. So West Virginia, yeah, I could absolutely see that being a nice win. I could see it being a nice loss, like a lot of these games in the Big 12. But I'm fascinated by that matchup from a coaching perspective, because it's just so interesting to have guys coming back, as y'all talked about ad nauseum, I'm sure. And do they both work out? Do they both end up being massive? Like, what did we do? Is one great and one's not? Like, I don't know, but I'm excited. Like those two hires made, I think, both of those programs much more interesting heading into this season than they otherwise would have been.
How much do you believe in the staying power of Arizona State in the Big 12?
I'm actually a believer in it. Like, they are the flavor of the year. And I know that it was like we do this with the polls where we just default like, oh, they were good last year, they're going to be good this year. I do think Arizona State's going to be really good this year. I'm someone who's a little bit more skeptical about the replacing of Cam Skattebo. I don't think it's impossible to do. I know it's going to be a group by committee type of a thing, but like that Texas game last year, like, are they even in that thing without him being like otherworldly in that game? Like, I just don't know that as much as you can replace the numbers, you can replace the it factor, if that makes sense. And that kid had it factor, but Jordan Tyson's great. Sam Levitt's great. Kenny Dillingham is a great offensive mind, and I think he's a great young head coach. And so I am a believer. I think they're going to be able to continue to recruit really well, and I think they might have actually found that key that they were looking for so very long, of like, this place is great. Like, just imagine, like, it's so beautiful here. Look at all the co-eds. Like, it's warm. It's all these things, but it was always like still not fully unlocked, right? And I think Kenny Dillingham, being an ASU guy, knowing the lay of the land, and being young, energetic, and kind of knowing how college football operates nowadays, I think that they found the one guy that could be that key that unlocks them. Now, I don't think that means national championship runs necessarily, but a team that stays in the thick of things and is more often than not playing for a title in the Big 12, as long as he's the head coach, I am a believer in the Sun Devils. I'm going back and forth on. There's like 4 teams that I just can't settle on when it comes to the title. And like, if y'all ask me, I'll just make a pick, but they are one of those 4, because I do think that they are going to be very good. The Skattebo piece, if that gets answered early, then, hey, there's really not a whole lot to wonder about, because I think they'll be very good defensively. Love CJ Fight, for example. Think he's an incredible player that's going to be really good for them. So the talent is there. The mind is there. I think the support's starting to get there. So, yeah, I believe in ASU moving forward.
Greg, we saw you out in Frisco at Big 12 Media Day. You guys stay busy interviewing, I think, pretty much anybody who was walking, at that, including Scott Frost. I don't know how much you'd interacted with Coach Frost before that interaction there, but what did you make of your time with Coach Frost? Obviously, we know Nebraska, right? We know what that was. What did you kind of make of your time with him, and what do you think about his staying power at UCF kind of moving forward?
Yeah, it was sort of odd. I mean, I think I talked to you a little bit about this, right? It was just I didn't really know what to make of him at first. He was good with us. I mean, obviously a very guarded guy, and probably I would be too if I had gone through all the different things over the last few years that he had. One would kind of expect that. But man, this does have, like, how would I describe this? This has a big combustible factor, doesn't it? I mean, it feels like this could be great, but I think you guys probably also feel like this could be a disaster. And maybe I'm off on that, but I'm leaning towards great right now. I think he needed this. I think UCF needed this in so many ways when you had to make a change. I'm not sure what the lay of the land was as far as all the opinions went, but Scott Frost knows UCF. UCF knows Scott Frost. They've had success. I mean, does it automatically mean they'll have success again like Rich Rod in West Virginia? No, but I think it comes at a really important time for both sides. And that's lending me to believe that this could be not right away, something that feels like it's right back to where it was, obviously. But I'm willing to give it some time. I walked away feeling like he was very guarded, but I understood that, and he was just kind of mysterious to me in a way, if that makes sense. I didn't feel like he was hiding things, but I didn't feel like he was a total open book either, just very guarded. And so we'll see if maybe some winning opens that up a little bit more. But I don't know. I'm just in wait and see mode as far as that whole situation goes.
Craig, you and the crew at 365 have set the gold standard in coverage, right, particularly in the Big 12. And obviously do a great job every day with your show. But there's some new ventures that you're getting into. I know one that we've been involved with. So tell us a bit more about what you're trying to do with the new newsletter component, what that looks like, how folks can find it, how they can kind of get involved with it, and just kind of share some insight on the new 365 Sports newsletter.
Yeah, sure. So we got bought by a media company just a little while ago. It's a little while ago, like it happened 15 minutes ago, a couple months ago. And it was a place in Central Texas. And we had some interactions with them, like Paul Catalina, one of my co-hosts, had been doing some work for them, Rogue Media. And there just apparently been some conversations over the last year or so that they were interested in our show specifically because we were part of a Baylor site. That's kind of how it all launched to begin with, for those that don't know. And we had gotten away from that, but we were still linked. Well, then the timing, I guess, just occurred to where Rogue said, "Hey, we want to buy the show." They were like, "You want to buy it?" "No, we want the show." So they bought the show, and in one of our meetings, initial meetings with my boss Corey, he brought up doing a newsletter. He's like, you wrote for the other site, and people seem to enjoy that stuff. Would you have any interest in writing?" And I was like, "Yeah, I could see me doing a writing component." And then he's like, "Well, what about a newsletter?" And I was like, "Well, tell me more." And he kind of got into what he was looking for. And so it's 365sports.video. It's a unique address. I don't know if that's going to stick or not, but that's what I was given initially. So 365sports.video. It's live right now. You can go there. And basically what you'll see is all 16 teams are listed, and there's an article and a video accompanying them. And the goal is to have like a specific every week. Right now, kind of still finalizing some of the spots. So we'll see where that goes. But UCF's going to be Sons of UCF. Like, the video is going to be Sons of UCF. The article is going to come like this past week from you, Adam, and really appreciate it. Enjoyed reading that. And so that'll be on there for folks who already follow UCF. I think they're pretty well aware of you guys. But for everybody else in the Big 12, they're going to see the good stuff that you guys are doing and go, "Oh, I didn't know about that." And y'all are going to bring up some cool stuff that I'm sure people just aren't paying attention to. And that's kind of the goal, is for everybody in the league to kind of get a little sampler platter of what everybody's got going on. And not just they won this game, they won that game, but just some of the other kind of extracurricular stuff that may matter to them as well. I don't think the Big 12 gets the coverage that it deserves or the respect that it deserves. I'm not somebody that thinks that it never gets any respect, but I do think that it's not a conference that necessarily gives you all the hits and the clicks, and that's what everybody's chasing. And so it's all about the SEC and all about the Big 10, and I think there's more than enough room to have more Big 12 coverage. I think it's grown immensely. Podcasts, channels like you guys do an incredible job. I think there's a lot of good talent out there. And so my hope with this project, when it was given to me, is try to round up the best talent I can to tell the best stories that we can about each and every single program, whether they're this popular or this popular. And for Big 12 fans, just to have a place to go to where they can see a little bit of everybody, and hopefully keeps them more interested in maybe other things they might not have known about, or might not have necessarily thought they'd be interested in. Now they know a bit more about UCF. Now they know a bit more about West Virginia. And so really it's to cover the league more, because the league deserves it. And like I said, to kind of give people just a central place to go to just catch whatever's going on once a week, and what the kind of the hot topics are from guys who cover those teams on a personal basis. So you can go to 365sports.video, and that will show you the newsletter as is. We are going to be making some tweaks to the design of it, but it launched officially yesterday, so you can see the latest there. There will be, hopefully over time, more riders and sites that come on and become more of a permanent fixture for other schools. But I'm thrilled to have you guys as a part of it and to be able to just further blast out y'all's work, because y'all do the best when it comes to the nights. And so that's the goal with everybody. And that's the goal, is just to kind of raise the Big 12, all boats. And we'll see where it takes us. But that's kind of where we are. So 365sports.video. You can go there each week. It'll drop Wednesday morning. But there is a place to sign up for your email, like with any other newsletter. So if that's just more convenient to have me send it to you each week, you'll get a nice big sampler platter, like I said, video and audio, whichever you prefer, from every team out there. And hopefully will be a nice little appetizer leading you into that second part of the week, and then Friday, Saturday, the real meat of the action.
I signed up today. It looks
Awesome.
good.
Thank
We
you.
appreciate you including us in this. Craig, Smoke,
Absolutely.
365 Sports. Let's enjoy this college football season, especially Big 12 play. Thanks for being with us on Suns Live.
Anytime you guys need me, Adam, appreciate you, man. Great to talk to you at Media Days. Trace, look forward to talking to you more, hopefully, as well. And looking forward to talking about the Knights and the rest of the exciting stuff to come, man. We're here finally, and I cannot wait. And this is a great way to further kick off. So appreciate you guys. Give me a little bit of a platform, and we'll definitely be in touch.
All right. Thank you,
Thanks,
Craig.
Craig.
Appreciate you. All right. That's pretty big, Adam. Newsletter has debuted. Looks sharp, and looking forward to contributing to it.
Yeah, no, a lot of fun. Those guys, again, are the gold standard for coverage. Obviously covered the Big 12 better than pretty much anybody, right? So 365sports.video. Go there, check it out, sign up if you want to. Again, you'll see some Sun stuff on there. But I also like it. I mean, you're going to see the other 15 schools. And so
Yeah, that's what I'm looking forward to.
I'm looking forward to learning more about. I talked to Craig about Kansas. Like, I don't know about Kansas, but someone's going to write about Kansas. Tell me more about that. And so leading up to some of these game weeks, you'll see some more insight from those schools as well too. So 365sports.video. Sign up, subscribe. That way you don't have to worry about the website stuff and all that other jazz. It's in your inbox. It's great. But we appreciate the opportunity to be involved and contribute to what the folks at 365 Sports do.
Big 12 football back in week 0. Jeff Allen back now.
Jeff Allen is back now, actually, Trish. So I'm gonna say, we're getting buttons are getting clicked here. It's preseason for us too.
It's week 0 in college football as Farmageddon goes across the pond to Ireland, and it features a top 25 matchup in this season opening conference encounter on Saturday. Number 17, Kansas State, is the home team as they square off against 22nd ranked Iowa State in Dublin. Crack open a Guinness for this 5 o'clock kickoff local time in Ireland, which translates to a high noon kick on ESPN here in the States. The third Big 12 team in action for the Week 0 slate has Kansas at home to face visiting Fresno State. That one comes your way Saturday evening at 6:30 on Fox. Looking ahead to Week 1, all 16 teams will be in action in non-conference contests, with 4 games kicking off Thursday night and running all the way through the Labor Day weekend. We'll give you the full schedule next week. With your Big 12 Minute, I'm Jeff Allen.
Good to have Jeff Allen back. Thank you, Jeff. Lot of content on the Suns YouTube channel around the kingdom back. This is premiere week. Pegasus guys, they go year round. They're with a big show breaking down the roster this week. And you, Adam, have put together this mashup.
We deserve like some kind of monetary prize, and so does everyone else who's been doing coverage this summer and contents we've put out like 20 to 30 hours of content on guys we know nothing about. Like I am so happy to never have to do this again, ever. Until UCF has a coaching change in like 3 years.
I think there's a running back on the team that you're maybe faster than.
No, I don't even want to put that out. I don't even want to put that out. They ain't gonna lie to you. I don't know. I ain't really never seen one of them boys all them boys get out, so I don't really know. Yeah. But I definitely can feel it. I feel like I can play running back at this level.
So at the beginning, we were like, we're going to play rock, paper, scissors, like, is it what we're going to do? But at the end, everyone was like supporting each other, For example, I won the first round, but in the second round, I lost, and I was supporting the one guy that beat me, and I was like, what is going on? And everyone, the vibe was like giving energy to each other. So, and it was really good. And at the end, 2 players were playing against each other, and everyone was like hyping everyone. So it was really good. And the energy, like inside the locker room, it was amazing.
Defensive line is the strength of this team. Might be the key to the season. If they live up to the expectations, that could help this team get to a bowl game, and help Alex Grinch be successful defensively, and that'll make the secondary look good and linebacker core. I agree with you about the defensive line. I'm excited about that. Since that was your answer, I'll go in a different direction. Running backs. I don't really care who's behind. Miles Montgomery, it could be Nixon, could be Gage. I feel really good about those running backs being playmakers. I'm not gonna miss whoever the starter was last year. What's his name again, Trace? What was his name? The guy we had last year? What's he? Harvey?
How fast you forget?
Coach Frost mentioned this team is hitting a wall as fall camp nears its end, including a notable injury to freshman running back Tavion Swint, who underwent surgery for an injured meniscus. He's expected to miss significant time with no clear return date.
More than 2,000 YouTube subscribers now. Sons of UCF continues to grow, and we thank you for supporting the channel and all of our work. What do you think of that? A busy week in Sons of UCF land.
That's not even everything, Trace, but we've got previews of soccer. We've got camp reports, multiple reports, I think, for each week. Player interviews from Media Day, a couple of different mashups there as well. Plus, all the shows are back tomorrow. On Friday, To Your Point with Jeff Allen, we'll be releasing a great roundtable discussion with Jeff, myself, Eric Lopez, Matt Michelle, Chris Boyle. So the week does not stop here for Sons of UCF. So if you're not one of the 2,002 people now, subscribe to our YouTube channel. It's not too late. Get there now. You'll catch all this stuff anytime something happens. Hit notifications. It'll pop right up on your phone. You can enjoy the content wherever you are, whenever you're ready for it.
We go around the kingdom. Women's soccer in a weather delay. There's lightning out at the soccer complex. Our intern Jan Perez is out there waiting it out. South Florida in town. Knights are 2-0. They defeated FAU 3-1 on Sunday. They welcome in LSU this Sunday at 7 o'clock. Men's soccer right now, second half, 1-1 at North Carolina. And then they stay out there in Carolina with a number 6 Wake Forest, a game there on Sunday at 7 o'clock. Volleyball opens their exhibition season. They host a little war on I-4 with South Florida on Saturday at 6 o'clock. Hey, it's that time again.
Yes, it is.
So it's a mailbag. So what?
So what? Do you know whose mailbag that is?
It's that time again. Time to open the Brian W. Peterson Sons of UCF mailbag.
Hi, fellas.
I knew you wanted to use that clip from Big 12 Media Days. I just didn't know when you're going to put that in there. Who's asking the questions? We switched spots on this during Sons Day. We didn't really rehearse this. Are we alternating questions? Am I back on driving the questions?
God, you're the question guy, and you're better at these than I am.
What did we? Okay, Cat Veg 1. To your point from the last show, can we acknowledge that some UCF fans have GDS, Gus derangement syndrome, in which every bad thing is blamed on Gus, as if UCF had not gone through tough times before? There's a little PTSD, right? I think we need to get some football in there, but any loss this season, I'm blaming Gus.
Yeah, it's just really tough because Rene said it earlier, like it's not the same team. Pretty much everybody is gone from that roster. So talking about last year and thinking of this year, there's not a ton of correlation there. You can look at where we were to where we are. But there are some. I saw someone on the timeline today, Trey, say that the last 4 years of Gus were catastrophic.
Well, that's a little dramatic.
So let's maybe let's pump the brakes a little bit. We'll see. But
that's a little dramatic.
We had 2 winless seasons, so who knows? At
Riley Carey 16. Will Frost use 4 quarterbacks next Thursday? Oh, my goodness. I hope not. At least 2. He doesn't want to play 3. It'd be interesting to see who that second person is. By the way, if Taven Jackson plays, but the packages and plays are called for Ja'Cory Brown, running plays, that's not really using 3 quarterbacks, right?
That's a great question. I'm not good at math.
At Lonely B UCF, will Miles get more touches than 24K, or should Frost be fired? All right. A little dramatic, Mario, always with a entertaining question. We appreciate Mario and everybody who joined us for our Suns Town Hall to kick off Premier Week. Good and lively conversation about the season. One thing we haven't talked a lot about, and we heard that mentioned in that clip, Tavion Swint going down with a meniscus injury and depth dented a little bit. Miles Montgomery has dealt with some injury issues in the past. What does his durability look like this season?
Yeah, no, it's a great question, Trace. And look, I think we know from Frost and from his his background, that he typically doesn't run one running back, right? He's one that'll do by committee. So I don't think Miles is going to see, the 24K style workload. I think he'll certainly get his touches, but I think Frost wants to mix in Jaden Nixon. Why wouldn't you, by the way? And maybe some Stacey Gates. And here's a name for people who aren't thinking about this, by the way. Watch out for Dwayne Thomas getting some carries as well. Put that in the back of your pocket.
Yeah. At UCF Knights win wide receiver Marcus Burke at the end of the season. Are we saying Trent Whittemore type impact or Brandon Johnson type impact? I know there are some fans critical of us and others for not knowing what this season is going to play out about, but I really don't. 1 week out, I really don't know what to expect from the wide receivers. And I'm interested in seeing how that develops over the first couple of games, certainly.
I mean, Marcus Burke is certainly the veteran of the group, and that's not a knock on him, but that's not saying much because this is a pretty young, unproven group. But you haven't heard his name a ton during some of the spring. He's made a couple of catches here and there, but I think some other receivers are flashing and making their name. So I guess I guess I need more of the Brandon Johnson style role than the Trent Whittemore fair catch role. So give me Brandon Johnson. But again, someone from that receiver room has to step up, Trace. I think that's the position group where it's just there for the taking. Who wants to be the person to kind of step in and take that role? I think it'll be fascinating to watch. And maybe it's Marcus Burke. Again, we haven't heard a lot about him. Maybe it's him, but I guess it remains to be seen.
At Golden Knight _2, if you were to build a football coaching staff using only former players, who would you pick for each position? Let's just do this for the offense this week, and we'll punt on the defense. You could still ask another question, Golden Knight _2. Quarterback. I think KZ's just fine in that role. I'm very comfortable with KZ in that position.
Yeah, KZ was the choice. Number 2, if you want assistant quarterback coach, give me Ryan Schneider, who's had a great run as head coach of Cocoa High School. I think he's won 2 straight state championships there. So KZ head coach or head quarterback coach, Ryan Schneider maybe assistant quarterback coach.
Running back, we heard 24K mentioned earlier, Kevin Smith.
Yeah, Kevin Smith is obviously the choice there, too. I knew you were going to go there. Again, Latavius Murray is the other name I'd go to. We've seen Latavius in the media space a little bit, too. Latavius would be the other name, but I think Kevin Smith's probably the name you'd want to have there.
Wide receivers, I'm slashing this with tight ends. I'm sticking with Sean Beckton, senior.
Yeah, that's such a tough call, right? Because he would be the name you'd think about. I guess the other name I'd throw out there, Sean Jefferson, by the way. Sean Jefferson, a longtime NFL assistant coach, coaching receivers, I think with the Falcons now. I know he's with the Chargers, the Jets. I know he's been around a little bit, so I think Sean Jefferson would be another name. If you're gonna go tight end, give me a little Darcy Johnson, kind of an old school name. Not a fan of the Suns, but I still want him on my coaching staff.
What do you got at O-line?
Josh Sitton was the name I wrote down. Kind of an older school guy, I think a Hall of Famer. So Josh Sitton was the name that I wrote down, but a lot of interesting options. Jordan Johnson, certainly a compelling case, but give me Josh.
The staff now, Jordan Johnson. Yeah. Some names there. We'll talk defense next week at Knights with a 1 on Blue Sky, the Coca-Cola that sits on the podium during press interviews. And all the time, mentioning me frequenting the press room. Anyone ever sweaty, hot, reached out, opened it, taken a swig, or is that thing ever rotated? Is it the same Coke all these years? It is the same Coke from the Malzahn era.
Yes.
So I have urged Sports Information to replace that.
This was
bad juju. I know there's some gust derangement syndrome talk there, but I think it's got some bad juju.
An underreported story, Trace. Our first media availability back inside of the media room in the stadium there. I happen to be there. I'm not always there. I'm very rarely there actually for these. And someone went up to the Coke and looked at the date and recognized this is a Gus Malzahn era Coke. I'm not saying it was expired. I'm not saying it wasn't though, by the way. So an expose. I mean, listen, the Bounce House does not need more expired food. We're going to need a new Coke in there soon, or a Powerade or something, because at some point it also does not look refreshing because it's warm. It's like 900 degrees in that room. And I would never, you're talking Sahara Desert would inspire me to try that Coca-Cola.
It's an old high school bottle of Coke for a high school coach at the Night UCF. Talking about the new plaza being built behind Wawa Habaneros. There looks like there's a space, maybe a sports bar, something called the Paseo. He's saying we need more walkable bars and dining near UCF. I agree. There needs to be more interesting bars around the UCF campus.
I don't disagree. Funny story. I was actually up in campus this past weekend and I was at that intersection and I looked quickly and I thought it said Pasco for Clay Pasco. And I was like, is he running for some sort of office or because Clay's always up to something funny. So I had to do a double check and I was like, is that Pasco? And I realized it was not, but I don't disagree. I think it'd be great for you to have kind of that game day experience and be able to sort of have some options in terms of what you do pregame. But I'm just glad it wasn't Clay Pasco running for office because that's a vote I don't want to have to cast.
Oh, I would vote for Clay for something. At _, does the UCF pregame need an upgrade? I think there needs to be consistency. That's all. I just want consistency. And there's the construction around the stadium. By and large, game day is going to be smooth. You're going to notice some changes, but there's still the constants, night walk and the like. So I want there to be consistency and build on that.
There needs to be a thing. Right. You think about some of the great atmospheres in college sports. One that always comes to mind for me is Virginia Tech. They play Enter Sandman from Metallica. Right. Wisconsin has Jump Around at the end of, I think, the third quarter. Right.
Good. Yeah.
There needs to be something like that. I think we have our Zombie Nation, but my argument would be we don't play that song long enough. I feel like it's only like a 10, 15, 20 seconds.
There are stadium structural issues to be concerned about.
And that could be it.
No, I'm kidding.
We are thing at some point, Trace, to be able to have that environment, that atmosphere. I feel like we've been trying some stuff the last couple of years, and I think a lot of folks kind of complain a little bit about UCF kind of losing their way. And where are we? Because I think we've been trying to come up with traditions, trying to come up with things, maybe finding old 1940s songs to play at the end of the third quarter, right? Like we've been trying some stuff. I think organically it has to come, but we just don't have that thing yet. I think we need to figure out what that thing is.
At Charge on Sports, do you feel Frost and Milton will both still be here on staff for the 10-year anniversary of the 2017 season? Oh, my goodness. By the way, I don't want to hear one word. Auburn declared themselves national champions in 10 more seasons. I don't want to ever hear anybody talk about anything again. That championship season, national champions in 2017. I'm not ready for 2027 yet. But to the question, Frost I feel good about. Milton maybe moves on to a different job at some point as his coaching career takes off.
That's a tough question, right? Because he loves being here, but we've heard this from other guys before. They have to move on. I think KZ values family, values Frost, values where he's at. So I think it had to be a really, really great opportunity. But cart, horse, that whole thing, right? So I don't want to. Let's hope that they're both here in 2027 when that anniversary comes, and we can celebrate the UCF win over Auburn. A lot of UCF Auburn lately, by the way.
Thanks everybody for your questions. You know what we also didn't rehearse? Who's in charge of what's in the box? I've got my box. Oh, is this dueling?
I don't know if I have. I do have. I have some in here. Yes.
So who's?
Want to play
Alumni Hall, though? We can talk about Alumni Hall.
We should talk about Alumni Hall.
Did you drop any money at Alumni Hall when you were over?
I did drop some money there. 4100 North Alafaya Trail. If you want to go there in person, or alumnihall.com.
I wasn't sure, so I brought my box.
You want to rock paper scissors for this? I know.
No. That's your son's thing.
You want me to go?
He beat Miles, didn't he?
Twice, 2 in a row. Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. We'll let you go. I don't normally care for your questions.
This is going to be interesting because
I don't feel like any of my questions over the summer ever put you on the spot like your questions put me on the spot.
No, I think I see it.
While you search for a question, it was great meeting people at FanFest, and I'll tell you one big takeaway for me are the number of people who appreciate being a part of this Sons of UCF community. I had underestimated that, but heard it over and over again that we've got a little bit of rapport with everybody, and it's great to see people at games and at events like FanFest, and we really appreciate all of you.
Yeah, it's a really good point. I'm glad you brought that up, Trace. I think I'm one that a lot of what we do, the reality is sometimes when you hear from people, you hear the negative, right? You hear about how much of an idiot we are. Why do we talk about this? And why aren't we doing that? And sometimes you can kind of get lost in that old cycle of it just feels like negativity everywhere. And it was just great to meet some people who enjoy what we do and enjoy just talking UCF. And it kind of was good for the soul a little bit just to recognize we plug these cameras in, and I forget sometimes that people are on the other end of these. It's great to hear that people enjoy what we're working on and want to hear more talk, and that they know us a little bit. They're and shout out to there's a few different folks I want to shout out, but big weekend in Casa de Eaton. We dropped Addison, my oldest, off at UCF, and we've talked about it on the show before. Probably no fewer than like 5 or 6 people, Trace, came up and was like, is this Addison? Is she the one going to school? Kevin Reed from across the gym yells at me, is that the daughter? I thought he said, "Is that the doctor?" And I was like, "You okay, Kevin?" He said, "Is that the daughter?" Because he had heard us talking about Addison going to UCF. So it's just fun to be a part of that community. And sometimes we forget that our role in that and that we have a spot there. And I've always said I don't want to do Suns if it can't just be fun, and we can't be approachable. So I've enjoyed that. It was a good for the soul. But now I turn to Dark Adam.
Yeah, Dark Adam. You know what this question is?
This week's What's in the Box question. Would you rather be an eye doctor or a foot doctor?
An eye doctor.
You'd rather play in someone's eye than deal with someone's foot?
What is this question? My question would not have been anywhere near as challenging. I don't think.
Why my questions are better. Eye doctor or foot doctor?
I think the knowledge you need is a lot more for the eye, right? I mean,
well, yeah, you have to be smart.
By the way, my eye doctor retired. Now I got to find a new eye doctor.
Can you see me?
So I'm looking for one, Adam.
I think I go foot doctor.
Foot doctor.
I don't want I don't want to be near people's eyes. Like feet.
I had a bad experience when I worked in a women's shoe store for about a week one time.
Yeah, this is why we're here, friends.
No, I don't want to touch people's feet. I don't know. I'll go with the knowledge.
Now, there are some things I don't want to touch, but you can wear gloves for that, right? Like when someone's like, "Hey, I got this thing."
Have you ever been to a podiatrist?
No.
Did they wear gloves?
I don't think I've ever been to podiatrist. I feel like I have really nice feet though. I've got some ankle issues. Fun fact: you'll never see Adam, and I don't know if UCF Mike is awake, alive, or if he's hopped up on painkillers. But I think I lived with Mike for 4 years. I think the amount of times Mike saw my feet is like 3. I always have socks on. My feet are pristine. I mean, we're talking like.
Is this because of temperature or what's the issue?
This. I'm like Kramer. My feet are my livelihood. Like
I don't want to know what you're doing when you're not producing all of the various Sons of UCF shows.
Give me feedback.
Speaking of Mike,
hold on a second. Hold on. Dolly's got a question.
What's the question? Oh, well, now that does bring up.
Right, just as I suspected.
That does bring up an interesting. It was good of Mike to join the town hall M&A, but there's a consecutive streak here of Mike's predictions. Is there going to be a segment? There needs to be a little. Come on, Mike. You need to make your predictions.
You're gonna,
Can we get Mike?
Sure.
Can we get Mike on a show to give some predictions?
Really, yeah. I mean, if you want to try, I know Mike's a busy gentleman these days. He's got a lot of things that he's balancing there. A lot of time in the pool, apparently.
A lot of pool time.
And like 12 of you know why that's funny. But yeah, if Mike's out there and wants to hop in and give us his 13-0 prediction again for the 9th straight or 8th straight season on the.
Yeah, I think we need that.
Yeah,
programming reminder with UCF football debuting next Thursday. Sons of UCF Live will be 1 day earlier. Look for us on Wednesday at 8:00 on all of your favorite.
Did you say 9 o'clock, Trace? Because I think you said 9.
Did I say 9? Whoa.
Should be 9. We're going to be 9 o'clock Wednesday. I've got some travel. I'm coming in from a work trip. 8 may be a little dicey, so I got to bump this thing back to 9 o'clock.
Well, see, this is we need to have more.
You're not on the show next week, right?
Now we're not supposed to let that. I've got a work trip, but I'm coming back for the game on Thursday.
Yeah, so I mean, you've got a lot of fun.
I'm off to Louisville. Where are you?
Oddly enough, I'm in Orlando. So that's far, frankly. But I'm driving back at the end of the day, Wednesday, after a long day of meetings. And so I'm concerned about.
Are you at the home opener?
No, I'm not going to go to the home opener.
This seems ill-advised, this planning here. You were in Orlando, and then you're leaving Orlando.
Well, I mean, you and I have talked about this. I mean, there's a lot of people listening to this for some reason. I don't understand. Doing the live show from a hotel room is always a dicey experience.
Do you have a photo of us at the Celeste? I enjoyed that.
I do. It's on Twitter still. And that was a night that's burned into my memory. Speaking of eye doctors, I think you diagnosed my corneas in that particular episode.
All right, everybody. Rene and Golia, Craig Smoke. Big news. Subscribe to that 365 newsletter. You'll get Suns content. More importantly, perhaps, all of the Big 12 content. Adam, good seeing you again on Sons of UCF Live. And we want to thank everybody for being with us. 1 week away until the season opener. We got a lot to talk about. For Adam Eaton, I'm Trace Trolko. Go Knights!
Charge on.
Sincere Edwards, defensive end. Thank you for watching the Sons of UCF.
Sincere. I think he could be Defensive Player of the Year. How about
Sincere, thanks.
Yeah, I like that guy.